Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zarrell. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at IHateCritics.net, Everyone's a Critic Podcast.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Follow us there, like our content, share our content, interact with us, and then listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Alexa, Spotify, Stitcher, all your podcatchers. Subscribe to the show, rate and review the show. We'll read it on the air. And then Patreon, IHateCritics.net/Patreon. The best way to help support the podcast. If you want to be a supporter, I think I just said it, IHateCritics.net/Patreon. It's the best way to help us.
Got a week off for the Super Bowl. It was too busy, you know.
Yeah, there was too much going on and not a lot really to talk about on the show. I mean,
two
nothing
really
we can't combine into 2 weeks.
Dull movies. So.
Right. And then only one movie this week, so it was easy to just combine this all into one. But because of that, we have a jam-packed show, so let's just jump right into it with the trailers. We'll start with Chris Rock's Saw movie.
Spiral. From the Book of Saw, which is a very curious title. It kind of makes you wonder where this is headed. I love the inclusion of Samuel L. Jackson. I didn't realize he was going to be involved in this. And look, Chris Rock looks quite serious about this, and I really like him in this kind of serious mode. I'm fascinated to see where this is headed, and is this going to be a meta movie, or is this going to be the continuing of somebody continuing Jigsaw's legacy? I mean, I'm fascinated. I can't wait to find out these questions.
Yeah, I'm really, really curious. I like whenever Chris Rock gets really interested in something, he always seems to be at his best, especially movie-wise. I mean, as a comedian, he's always top-notch. But, I mean, he made a movie a few years back. It was a remake or some. I don't know if he directed it or not, but he was in it. That was supposed to be really good. I thought his top 5 movie was pretty solid. I loved him in Dogma, which he took very seriously.
Yeah, and he, as a director, he's so wonderfully experimental. The one about his wife, I
Think I Love My Wife.
I Think I Love My Wife. That is a phenomenal movie. Everybody kind of slept on that one, especially that incredible, daring, bold, unique ending.
Right, and I don't know. I don't know that is he directing this one or just producing it?
You know, I didn't see.
I thought it said someone else was directing it, but it did say he's producing it for sure. He may be directing it, I'm not sure. But it just looks interesting, if nothing else. Whether, like you said, it's meta, it's continuation, or it's its own thing, it looks interesting, if nothing more and nothing less.
At the very least, it's got to be an improvement over what they did with Jigsaw, because that thing was a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Then there's Vivarium. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. Have we seen movies like this before? It seems very familiar.
Kind of. It's kind of has that Pleasantville vibe to it. Then it's that movie that Mark Duplass did a few years back where I can't think of the actress's name. She's really famous too, where they basically were having a 4-way with themselves.
Yeah, that was a really great movie.
Those two movies, I mean, it's kind of somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah. I don't really know what's going on, and I don't know. It looks a little more original than a lot of other things that are coming out, but like you said, it does look like we've seen it before, so I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know what to make of it yet. I need another trailer, maybe.
Yeah, I'm interested, though, just to see. Then we got Fast and Furious 9 with another wrestler in it.
Oh, welcome John Cena to the Fast and Furious world.
Goodbye, Rock.
And somehow they've unkilled a character. This is great. I love this. This is really dumb. I'm fascinated.
Who did they unkill? Charlize Theron?
Han. Han is not dead.
I don't know their names. Who's Han?
Here's the guy that Shaw was supposed to have killed a few movies ago to make him the top villain for the next movie. And now it turns out
famous.
Well, no, but
okay. There's so many famous people in this series that I was like, at least say Charlize Theron or Tyrese or whatever, Ludacris.
I'm fascinated to know how they pulled it off, because, I mean, it seemed pretty definitive. The way he died in the earlier movie seemed really definitive. So how they're going to retcon that is going to be interesting.
They'll find a way.
I mean, there's no rules in this universe. I mean, you can have ghosts in this universe or aliens. They could go to space. It's not going to matter at this point.
Have they?
Not yet, but they're getting there. I mean, they had a super soldier in Shaw versus Hobbs and Shaw had a super soldier in it. So
they're gonna go back to like Tokyo Drift. This person was an alien all along.
That Tokyo Drift kid, yeah, he's still canon. So I mean, he could be anything right now.
I don't even know what that means. I know what canon means, but that's just the only one I know that has its own name.
I think it was Lucas Haas. I can't remember. It might be Lucas Haas. I don't remember which bland white guy it was who starred in Tokyo Drift.
But they brought a non-bland guy in with John Cena, non-bland white guy.
Somehow he's Vin Diesel's brother. It's a very unique gene pool. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, Vin Diesel probably wishes. John Cena's pretty impressive looking. I don't know. The Lovebirds. This is a Kumail Nanjiani movie. This looks, I don't know, interesting.
It
fun.
It reminds me a lot of movies that I really like remind me a little bit of Tag, a little bit of Game Night.
Even Stuber to an extent.
Yeah, which wasn't a terrible movie. I like it. I consistently giggle at this trailer, and that's really what I was looking for.
Yeah, there's a lot of putting yourself in that scenario and what would you do, and I mean immediately you know what's going on even in the trailer, but it's still, and then they tell you. So.
And the clever use of racial stereotypes is really smart.
Right.
Like where he's doing that bit about going to the cops and she's covering up. I'm going to cover up my camera now. And beat you.
That's funny. Yeah, it looks, if nothing else, again, I'm saying that a lot this episode, it looks fun, so
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that one as well. And then The Woman in the Window. I mean, we're also playing catch up. Some of these trailers are a little older. We haven't talked about trailers in probably the whole year. So I saw this one before I went to the one movie I got to this week. This was playing before the movie with Amy Adams. I don't know. I'm always interested when she's involved.
Yeah, it's
especially lately.
A lot of gaslighting in this one, I guess, or she's crazy. There's a lot of room to play with this. I'm not sure about. I don't really care for the look of the movie, which already just seems a little bit. I'm not sure, a little too dark at times. In terms of the not the tone, but like the actual picture itself.
Right. Now I know what you're saying. And I don't know how much of that's the trailer, just picking the wrong scenes or what. But if nothing else, I'm interested.
It's got that kind of darkness they use to kind of cover up a lower budget, which doesn't seem like with this cast you would have that low a budget, but
maybe. I mean, the fact that it's not a superhero movie and it's not a Netflix movie, they're trying to get into the theater, so there's always that.
Amy Adams, Gary Oldman, Julianne Moore, and oh gosh.
It's been a couple of weeks since I seen the trailer. I forgot who the other person was. All I know is I liked the cast, so for the cast alone, I was like, I'm going to see this, and hopefully it's good. All right.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
That's right. Way to go. Good job. Anything new? I mean, obviously the Oscars you're going to get this on Monday. Like, why didn't they talk about the Oscars? Well, the Oscars, one, we don't give a shit. Two, haven't happened yet. So
it's true.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I quit the Oscars. I don't care. I'm watching out of rote repetition and the request of friends. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, my wife's like, when are we going to watch the Oscars? And I literally told her 4 times this week, and I have no interest in watching it. And she's like, really? And then like a day later, when are we going to watch the Oscars? I'm like, well, one, it's not on. It's not on a certain time. So there's no when. But maybe I'll jump on the treadmill for a while and watch half an hour of it. I don't know.
Your wife has grown so used to the on-demand world, she just thinks the Oscars are on-demand.
Either that or I'm a bad storyteller. And I just kind of trumpet and go with my story and not backtrack. Either way. Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey stars Margot Robbie along with Rosie Perez. And basically, not the origin story. This is a takeoff after Suicide Squad, in which Harley Quinn and the Joker have broken up. And in Gotham City, she's always been under his wing, under his protection. And it allowed her the ability to piss off a lot of people as much as she possibly wanted to, and she did just that. Now that it's getting out there that she's broken up with the Joker for good this time, the people who have opposed her all this time are coming out of the woodworks to take their opportunity to try and kill her. And that essentially makes her the hero of the piece just by default, because all the really bad people are trying to kill her. She's basically trying to keep herself alive by pursuing this diamond that has a secret inside of it that the bad guy, Roman Sionis, played by Ewan McGregor, the Black Mask is his name. He wants this back, and he gives Harley the chance to stay alive a little bit longer if she'll retrieve it from this kid, Cassandra Cain, who has stolen it from one of his cronies. From there, she bonds with the kid and decides to try and keep her alive, and she's aided by Huntress and by Black Canary, played by Journey Smollett, and Rosie Perez, who's a police detective who's kind of on the outs with the cops. She gets that scene where it's give me your badge and gun, and she just like, fuck you, here's my badge and gun. But she does it really well. Rosie Perez, it's nice to see her back in such a prominent role. It's been a while since we've seen her so prominent in a movie. I really loved this movie. I really did. It's a lot of fun. Margot Robbie inhabits this character brilliantly. This is, I think, even though there's a lot of weird crying online that these characters aren't sexy enough, which is one of the dumber criticisms I've ever heard. This is really great deal of fun. It doesn't overplay the whole feminist thing. It's girl power, all that stuff. They're just badasses, and just everybody just knows it. There's no playing around anywhere. Like the ground has been plowed, and now they're just walking. Here. This is great. I really loved that. The fight scene in this movie inside of a fun house is phenomenal.
Really? So
much fun. But there's a couple of really great fight scenes in this movie. There's a fight scene in the evidence locker at the police department in which some of the bad guys shoot at some cocaine in a bag, and just Harley just sniffs it in and just like, yes, let's go. A new fight scene starting. It's a lot of fun. It's like Popeye with the spinach. It's Harley with cocaine. It's great.
That's funny. Yeah, and from what I didn't get to see it. I was gonna go see it, but I have to also work this weekend, and had a little window where I could have gone, and I took my wife's keys to work with me on accident, and it just really got messed up. So I don't know, but you saw it and you liked it, so I figured if I'd probably just be redundant if otherwise. So that way I didn't go see it. But I hear you really seeing the first one doesn't matter, or Suicide Squad doesn't really matter. No,
it doesn't really matter at all. Like it's the same character, but it's totally a much better version of that character.
Right, which according to most critics, that character was the only good thing about the first one anyway.
Yeah.
So that's very cool, and
they're calling it. It made $33 million this weekend, which they're calling a disappointment.
Even in February?
Yeah. The projections were anywhere between 43 and 50.
I made like $7,000 or.
Well, I think there's a lot of people just wanting to dance on the grave of DC and the DC movie universe, and trying to put that away. And then there's also that other side, that lingering Ghostbusters, girl Ghostbusters nonsense among the the incels and the angry right wingers who are like, girls in movies, there.
Yeah, but I could have swore this said like a per screen it was like $8,000 per screen, which is pretty good. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you can call that a failure.
You can spin it however you want, I guess in this day and age.
Anything, it's true. Yeah,
could just be rival studios just being dicks.
There's that too, and I mean I'm planning on seeing it. My wife wants to see it, and I'll throw her under the bus for the third time this episode. We were literally planning, like we were picking the showtime we were going to go to last night. At the same time, my wife was texting with my daughter's friend's mom, setting up a sleepover for my daughter to leave and not watch my son, which then left us without a babysitter to watch the movie. So we ended up watching something else, which we'll get to later. But I'll still probably get to it because it looks fun, and that's exciting to hear that it is. And it is, like you mentioned, the studio stuff. We've been talking in the past about, how studios, you can see them in the boardroom planning out movies and whatnot. And a movie my brother wrote, a little short he did called The Newscaster, actually got, I probably shouldn't even say that much, but anyway, this real studio. I mean, they've done movies we've talked about on the show, a couple Adam Sandler movies, Jennifer Aniston movies, asked for the script, and then they came back to him and goes, why don't you think more about the Me Too movement when you rewrite this? And he was just like, I don't want it. He doesn't even want to write it again. He doesn't want to make it. He just wanted to sell it and make them go do what they wanted with it. He didn't give a shit. He's already moved on. But yeah, it's just kind of funny how it, get to see it firsthand, what they were doing. Gretel and Hansel.
I said before that the last weekend's movies weren't very good. This one's all right, actually. It's not great. Basically, two kids, Gretel and Hansel, get run off by their mom, who's kind of losing it a little bit. They get run off into the forest. They've got nothing with them. They're cold. They're hungry. They end up at this cottage that seems to pop up out of nowhere and seems very similar to a legend that they'd been told as children about a woman who is mysterious and unkillable, and maybe a killer or a cannibal. Anyway,
cannibal killer.
They go in her house, and she's got this big elaborate food set up, and the girl is obviously very suspicious. The boy is too young to really be too suspicious, and things progress from there. Alice Krige is a really effective villain. She's very creepy. She's got a great look for this. It's a very similar performance to what she did as the Borg Queen in one of the Star Trek Next Generation movies. She's very effective, and the young lady who plays Hansel is a wonderful actress. She's very, very easy to buy in with and sympathize with and follow. And I really liked her performance. I also liked the architecture of the movie. It's a uniquely shot movie. It's got a unique look to it. It has desires to be bigger than it is and better than it is, but for a low rent sort of take on the stuff that we really like, right. This is kind of a strong impression of like somebody trying to do that. That's
cool. I mean, you can't all be Midsummer.
Yeah.
And this is another one we wanted to go to, but again, it's the middle of gymnastics season, and we were in Wisconsin, and again, it was always, we're going to go, and we didn't go. So. But I did go to the rhythm section.
Boy, did you pick well.
Went really late at night, went in and out of sleep. I have no idea if it's good or not. Because I just got confused a lot. Because I literally was trying not to snore in the theater, and there was one other guy in there with me, and it was like midnight. So I kind of followed it towards the end, but again, I lost characters here and there.
Yeah, it's hard not to. This is a really terrible movie, and I really love Blake Lively. I think she's wonderful, but she's made a pretty bad choice here. She plays a girl whose parents and siblings are killed in a plane crash, or what she thinks is a plane crash. It devastates her so much that she ends up becoming a sex worker and addicted to drugs. When this magazine writer approaches her to tell her that that the plane crash was not a crash, it was a terrorist attack, and the government is covering it up. He knows who did it, and he's willing to help her get there, but he's going to get knocked out of this very quickly because we've got Jude Law waiting in the wings to be the actual lead of the movie, as opposed to this guy we don't know and who's basically just cannon fodder, and clumsy cannon fodder at that. Because they make it very obvious. They should just put bullet holes right in his forehead right before you get started with the movie. You just have it already there. Just save you the time. He's just there to basically be the bridge from her to Jude Law That's awful. Jude Law, who's an former MI6 guy who knows all about the terrorists and who they are and has been tracking them, even though he had to give up his badge and gun as an MI6 agent because he was not solving the case or trying to solve the case, whatever it was. He's going to train her to be a killer and go after the terrorists. And I guess they try to make this movie different than other like badass killer woman movies by having her just be incapable of killing anybody.
Right. I was awake for that.
She trains. She's terrible at killing. She can't kill anybody, even the people she knows killed her family. She can't kill anyone, and it becomes cringy to watch her just continuously fail. And I get that that's part of the character, maybe, that she's just too good a person to be a killer, maybe, but they don't establish that very well. They're setting up this action movie about this badass female killer, and she's totally not. She's not. I'm not saying she's a wimp or anything, but she's incapable of killing people.
Right. I mean, I think that cringy feeling is intentional, but it's just getting there is clunky. When you get past there, there's some really powerful stuff that happens, but it's just slow getting there, and it's, like you said, clunky and not. I don't know.
It's weird too. They open the movie by taking us into the future of a kill she's about to commit later on in the movie.
Right.
That kill is so inconsequential that you're sitting there going, "Why the fuck did we start here? Like, there was no reason to start here. This guy doesn't matter in any way."
Yeah, I it really had pacing problems. I don't think. I don't know. There's a decent movie here. That's what's frustrating, because Blake Lively's not bad by any stretch. Nobody's bad in this movie. I don't think the scenes are bad looking. It just is a real bad pacing problem and some bad decisions in editing. I think
they should have canceled this movie the minute they realized they didn't have a title. Because this title, again, in part of being inconsequential, this title is mentioned basically as Jude Law's shorthand for teaching her how to kill people or to shoot with the rhythm of your heart, with your heart and your breath.
That's another 5 minutes that didn't need to be in this movie.
Yeah. Which I guess he calls it the rhythm section, the heart and your lungs. I don't know. It's not very well established. It's completely inconsequential because she can't shoot anyway.
And they stopped the movie to give you the title. Yeah. So it's... I mean, where I got a little lost was, and this is where I was dozing in and out, was the dude from Waves and This Is Us.
Sterling K. Brown. Yeah.
I kind of picked up that he was the bad guy acting as the good guy, but I missed the beginning part of it. So that was where I got a little messed up. But again, it's more just kind of...
And even if you had been awake, you wouldn't be able to follow what they do here because it's so insanely convoluted to try and take you one way and then take you another way.
Right.
And she's fucking Sterling K. Brown, but she already knows. It's bizarre. It makes
she can't
no
kill
sense.
Anybody.
Yeah, she's terrible at killing.
But
she's
she
just
can fuck
awful.
the guy to get. It's. And so I didn't fall asleep for long periods of time. I was confused. So
right.
I'm good to know that it's not me. It's the direction.
It was just the bad direction. Yeah.
So it's just frustrating because it looks like it could have been better. You know, I look at Atomic Blonde, which is bad for different reasons. At least the first half of that's really cool and it's action packed, but it just tries to be too smart.
I think somebody they were probably competing with that Jennifer Garner movie Peppermint, and when they saw that she was going to be a badass who actually could kill people, even in a terrible movie because that movie's awful, but she's a badass who could actually kill people. They're like, well, we got to make it different. Well, how about she's bad at killing people? Great, that's our angle.
And again, I don't mind that angle as long as because that scene where she doesn't kill the guy and then something happens is a pretty good scene, but. It's just a standalone scene that's good. Everything before and after it's kind of weak, and so I don't want to say it's inconsequential because it isn't, but it's at that point you're just kind of waiting for the movie to end, if that makes sense. But yeah, I pick them mainly because my wife wanted to see Gretel and Hansel and Birds of Prey, and that was the only one I could go to alone. You saw The Lodge.
Yes, The Lodge with Riley Keough, Richard Armitage, Jaden Martell, and Leah McHugh, and Alicia Silverstone. This is from the director of Goodbye Mommy, which we saw a few years ago, and was really impressive as a foreign horror movie that I think kind of came up short for both of us a little bit. But this one, similar idea about people being in a lodge, being away from the rest of humanity, locked away in this spot and unable to get away. The idea here is that Richard Armitage and Alicia Silverstone just got a divorce, and he's taking the kids to this lodge, this cabin that he owns, and along the way he's going to bring along his new soon-to-be wife. Something happens with Alicia Silverstone's character. She dies, and the kids are dealing with that while also being forced essentially to meet this woman who's essentially replacing their mother. He's going to drop them all off at this cabin, the lodge, and then leave and go do something else. The backstory on Riley Keough's character is that she was actually the subject of a book he wrote, and the book was about a cult that committed mass suicide. Her father was the head of the cult. She was his second in command, essentially. He brainwashed her. She was only 12 years old. She filmed all of the bodies, and then she didn't take her own life. She didn't drink the Kool-Aid, I guess. And she ends up being the only survivor. She tells the story to him, and they bond. And I don't know when the relationship starts, because that's a little creepy element of this. There are a couple of minor inconsistencies in this movie, because from there we get to the cabin and they're alone. It's just Riley Keough and Jaden Martell and Leah McHugh as brother and sister, and they're tormenting her, and it's kind of affecting her sort of PTSD. And where it goes from there is a very horror movie direction. Like I said, there are elements here that are a little bit inconsistent. I didn't necessarily buy into the kids completely into what they're doing, but it is so incredibly effectively directed. This movie has an insane level of very strong vibes of Hereditary and Midsommar in terms of the way it's directed. Right. The camera work here is just brilliant. The way they lull you in this lovely, very controlled floating camera. It's not shaking all around. It's very controlled, but it's also moving in the way it moves and the way it hovers and holds. And then it'll shoot up. It'll shoot up at a character, or it'll bring the atmosphere of the room down with it. The camera. It's so good, and it's so pushing you around, and it's real. You really feel your breath leave you as you're watching this oppressive camera work. And then you've got this wonderful architecture in this lodge. It's just gorgeous. The old wood and the stairs and the various different rooms, and you don't know the architecture. You can't follow it, and that becomes disorienting. On top of, you're with Riley Keough a lot, and she's becoming more and more disoriented. Really smart, really exceptionally well directed. And in that way, I can forgive the things that I didn't like about the movie, because so much of it is just so very, very good. It's a solid, a B+, but it's a really good B+.
That's cool. We don't know when it's available or where it is. Right now, we think it's limited
theatrical release right now,
which means hopefully we can get it on Amazon for $15 soon. I think
definitely worth checking out. These are two directors. They're a directing duo.
Oh, nice.
That are really, really good.
Yeah, Parasite just dropped down to $6. I was gonna watch that last night, but then I just happened to be on Instagram and I saw Mark Duplass post a picture of Alison Brie in this movie called Horse Girl, and he goes, "This one's kind of out there." So I was like, I'm always up for a Duplass Brothers movie, and I like Alison Brie, and she wrote it, so I was like, okay, I'm interested. And I watched Horse Girl on Netflix, and you watched it too, didn't you?
I did. I picked it up today.
Here's how I would describe it before you can do what you do is, I was going to say it's kind of like Safety Not Guaranteed mixed with Hereditary mixed with Under the Skin, not as good as any of them. And that's saying a lot, because those are fantastic movies. I don't mean it to be mean, but I mean, that's a little bit there. Because it is out there. It
is out there. It's an exploration of mental illness for the most part, but it could also be an exploration of time travel.
Right.
Maybe. You have to figure that out for yourself. Alison Brie plays a woman named Sarah who has a history in her family of mental illness. She's coming to an age where that is starting to settle in, like essentially a hereditary illness. She works at a store alongside Molly Shannon. At times, I was wondering, is Molly Shannon real, or is she just having a conversation with herself? Which was a really great, smart piece of direction on this. And yeah, weird shit begins to happen, and I really dig the weird in this movie. At one point, Alison Brie is dressed up as the coolest, weirdest ninja I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to her on Chris Hardwick's podcast, and she said Mark Duplass came to her and goes, "You understand what this is about and all that? You know what's going on in the script you wrote?" He was like, "If you do, then I'm good. I don't need to understand it. I'll just let you do what you got to do. You can make your movie." And I kind of get that. The more I get away from it, the more I like it. And I mean, maybe it will end up on the level of those other movies too once I get further enough away. Because, I mean, in a way, you just kind of, it may just be you in her head the whole time, which makes it that much better when I start to think more and more about it. But if nothing else, it's a fascinating watch, and it's a frustrating watch, and Alison Brie is good. She's better than she's ever been, and she's always been pretty good, but this is something different from her, and I bought everything she did from the beginning to the end, and if again, for nothing else, it's the watch. It's an experience that you can get on Netflix right now, and I think everybody should.
And for context, this guy the director, Jeff Baena, directed this, and he directed Life After Beth and The Little Hours, which are some weird movies in their own right. And he co-wrote I Heart Huckabees.
Really?
Yeah.
And the way that him and Allison wrote this is they would just go on these 2-hour walks, and what about this? And then they get themselves into a corner and try to get through it. And I think it makes sense. You know, the more I haven't really had a chance to really dive into it, because it is a type of movie like An Enemy or Under the Skin where you really want to dive in and kind of figure out what this movie is. And I haven't had the chance to do that yet, but I think it could be a fun movie to do that with. And I don't know, it's worth watching if you have a Netflix account, and who doesn't these days?
It's got a very odd sense of humor. I laughed a couple times where I felt bad, like I should not be laughing right now, but it made me laugh.
Yeah. And yeah, my wife she hates these type of movies, so I was just like, you know what, we're not going to Birds of Prey, fuck you, we're watching this. And then it starts watching, and Debbie Ryan pops on the screen, who was Jessie, I guess, and the show my daughter liked when she's a little kid. Oh, that's why you want to watch this, because I'm like, no, I didn't even know she was in this movie. Just a big Alison Brie fan.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Glow, you need to watch Glow.
Glow's amazing.
I love Glow.
I've never watched Mad Men or Community, but I hear those are great too.
Yeah, Community is amazing too.
But yeah, Horse Girl on Netflix now. Go check it out. Let me see if I can get my phone to play I'm afraid to move my phone, so I don't want to blow up Sean's ears. There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
Ms. 45.
Yeah, how about this movie?
Yeah.
This is from 1981, but I mean, you're talking about a movie that feels like it could have been made today. Like, this is Abel Ferrara directing this, and it's about a mute woman who, in the first 10 minutes of this movie, is sexually assaulted twice. Once in an alleyway, and then once immediately after when she returns to her apartment. It is frightening and terrifying and strange, and then where it goes from there, it just keeps getting more and more resonant and unusual, and like the echoes. I mean, it's like he came into the future, saw what was going on, and went back in time and made this movie.
It is weird that I've never heard of this movie.
Right?
You know, I've heard of Bad Lieutenant, and I don't know if it's because there's no stars in it.
Yeah,
it must be.
Yeah,
but it is it's so stylistic that it was a fun watch. I mean, fun is not the right word, but it was just one of those. It was just a neat experience. I just loved the tone, the style, everything about it. I was hooked from the second it started.
It keeps amping up the crazy. I mean, it
lets
really
you go.
Yeah, it's almost kind of. There are reminiscences here of Joker. This is like a female Joker in some ways. Somebody who's just been mistreated terribly, in a much quicker fashion,
right?
And sets about turning things around for herself using a gun and just taking out the men around her, and specifically the men. She's after men in a way that you did. I mean, I guess we're so focused on when we are that we don't even think about that this has been going on all along, and now we're just kind of taking the blinders off and seeing the kind of world that women have been living in all this time. Even in the time before dick pics. Dick pics were just basically guys walking down the street opening up their jacket, like that. Now they have the internet. They can just send you the penis right away, instantly, without having to go on the street.
Well, even like watching Horse Girl, it's a lot of sleepwalking in that movie, and because of you never really had to think about what it must be like to have to walk to your car late at night, and multiple times she sleepwalks to the middle of nowhere or her parking garage and wherever, and something you never had to think about 3 or 4 years ago. Now that it's been brought up more and more, just added an extra feel to that movie.
Yeah,
but you're right. With this movie, it really is a lot like Joker in terms of he only kills certain people, and she's focused in on men, and that one he's focused in on the people that hurt him, which he finds it probably richer people or whatever, or people made fun of him. But this is just, I don't know. It's what was it on IMDb TV? Is that where we watched it on?
Yeah.
I cannot believe I'd never heard of this movie, and why it wouldn't be considered a classic or
right. I don't understand. This is a movie that everybody needs to rediscover and watch again because it's just so ridiculously timely. The way the gun represents, like the Me Too movement, like the cancel culture, like she's canceling everybody.
Right. And it really does,
definitively.
Yeah. And I don't know, it just really is fascinating, and I really can't recommend it more.
It also has this wonderful meta quality because the first man who attacks her, the first attacker is the director. That's Abel Ferrara under a mask.
I didn't know that.
Attacking her. And that's just that's way too, that's so appropriate for what's going on here.
Yeah, and the fact that she's mute makes it that much more...
I mean, it's a little heavy-handed. Women can't. Women don't have their own voice. That's who she is. She's mute. She can't talk.
Right, but it adds to the style. It adds to just everything. Is, I mean, if you like Bad Lieutenant or anything, even movies like that, this is something you should definitely see. But even if you don't, it is its own unique experience.
Her performance too. She is irreverent without being able to speak, which is, I mean, that's an incredible talent. It's almost like Chaplin-esque. The silent film actress here coming out. The little touches. She's butchered this guy and has him in her refrigerator, and she just takes out his head and just sort of looks at it odd, and it's uncomfortable. It's kind of funny.
Well, I mean, this is the type of movie that you would think, guys like your cousin Jeff would be drawing pictures of, and, my brother who buys a lot of artwork like that would be into movies like that. And I've never heard of it. It drives me nuts that this is something. Who is she? I don't even know.
I think this is might be the only movie she made, honestly.
And that could be, I mean, that's probably part of why it's not, if it was Sissy Spacek or something like that, we may know about this movie more. But just go see it if you get a chance. Ms. 45 on IMDb TV. Watch it on your phone. It doesn't matter. Right? You're going to be pulled in, and you're not going to be able to turn it off.
It's Zoe Lund is her name, and she's just phenomenal. Just this incredible face. She was also in Bad Lieutenant and a movie called Handgun. Yeah.
Probably just worked with Abel.
She was. Oh wow, she's fascinating. Just look at her IMDb and you'll see just how unique and interesting she really is.
Well, the movie builds and builds and builds, and that ending is so. Just like Joker, as crazy as that ending is, it really even crazier in a lot of ways. So if you like Joker, screw by the 10. If you like Joker, go see this movie. It's really right up that alley, and I don't know.
Sad to note, she passed away in 1999 at the age of 37.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So perhaps her just not being able to be here either to be, advocating for the movie might also be another reason.
Yeah. Our movies from 1990, there's a ton of them. I didn't watch any of them. Did you?
I know I've seen Is it Hard to Kill?
Hard to Kill. I've seen that.
That's a piece of crap.
And it gets even worse
Steven
knowing
Seagal.
what it really started, or maybe it was Above the Law started it, but either way, it's fuck that guy. Flashback. I don't know if you remember that.
Dennis Hopper and Kiefer Sutherland. I just remember it's like a hippie, taking this straight-laced FBI guy and making him. Didn't they make this movie in '89 too?
Anytime Dennis Hopper's in a movie, they make this movie. Heart Condition.
This is one of the early Denzel Washington movies. Denzel Washington and Bob Hoskins star in this movie. Bob Hoskins is a heart patient who has to have a transplant. He gets it from Denzel Washington, who's died essentially. His heart is given to Hoskins, and then he haunts him and gives him life advice.
Sounds like it should be a good movie, and clearly we don't know about it. So
literally Magic Negro. I imagine I'm kind of fascinated though. I didn't get a chance to see it. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Or I might have seen it. I know the premise really well, so I might have seen it. Just the idea though of Denzel playing like this loose comic role that like sounds like it would be for Robert Townsend or something. That sounds like a fascinating idea. Fresh
off his Oscar win the year before, Glory. Men Don't Leave. Remember that one?
Julie Kavner, I think it is, from one of the Simpsons actresses is the main star, I think, or one of the stars in the movie, and that's pretty much all I remember about it.
Stella?
It's sad drama, yeah.
Oh, then there's Stella
with Bette Midler.
That's right,
and that one I also don't remember much about.
The Haunting of Morella?
No, got nothing.
Loose Cannons.
That is Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd in a cop comedy. They're buddy cops. They're mixed up. Is Dan Aykroyd's character maybe a mental patient, or am I thinking of another movie?
He in the picture looks like he's in a medical suit.
I think he might be a mental patient, and Gene Hackman's a detective, and the mental patient's got like information, and he's got to like track it down or something. Or it could just be writing a better movie. I don't know.
Yeah, Dom DeLuise is in it, so there's that. Oh, I think he becomes a mental patient. An unconventional cop who doesn't take any bull is paired up with an amazing detective to capture some powerful criminals, but the cop soon realizes that his by-the-book partner has split personality disorder. So they're both cops.
Okay.
But one of them has split personality disorder. And this is why Gene Hackman doesn't make movies anymore, because he didn't want to make movies like this. He wanted to make Unforgiven and French Connection,
right.
And that's it. Stanley and Iris.
Let's see. Is this Jessica Lange and Robert De Niro?
I believe it is, but unless I'm confusing it with another movie.
Yeah, it could be. There could be Pacino.
Pretty sure it's De Niro, but let me make sure.
I don't remember now. I could be mixing it up with a number of other movies that have, her and her names, like the ampersand movies.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I can't get it to pull up. I'm pretty sure it's Jessica Lange and De Niro, though.
Jessica Lange was in a lot of things in 89, 90. She was the queen of that time. Jane Fonda.
And De Niro.
Okay.
Close enough. Torrents of Spring. Remember that one?
I wanted to see it. It sounds interesting, but Timothy Hutton's in it. That's all I can remember. And it was a foreign kind of film, uniquely foreign director, I believe. And it had an interesting look to it, but I didn't get a chance to see it. I think it could just also be that I'm hearing the title and thinking of like Bergman.
In 1840, a young Russian aristocrat, Dmitry Sanin, is returning home after a long tour of Europe. In Germany, he falls in love with a beautiful pastry shop girl.
I fell asleep already.
You said you wanted to see it, not me.
Yeah, I know. I'm regretting it now.
Cinema Paradiso?
Thank you, Cinema Paradiso, for your time. We'll try and squeeze you in next week.
Next week, we got The Photograph, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Fantasy Island. Our classic is The Brood from Cronenberg, David Cronenberg. In 1990, Nightbreed comes out along with Courage Mountain, Madhouse, Revenge, The Witches, and maybe we'll get to Cinema Paradiso that week. We'll eventually see.
Yeah, at some point.
But that is our show. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, that's the best way to help support. That's the best way to help support the podcast. IHateCritics.net/Patreon. We'll read our list of supporters now. At the key grip level is Charlie Messing and Jason Bryant. The craft services level is Zach Covemaker. At the character actor level, Josh and Beth Paul, Christina Cato, and Cousin Jeff. And then at the special effects level, Corey Finneran. Again, IHateCritics.net/Patreon if you want to get yourself a credit on the show. And there's also our podcast merch page at IHateCritics.net/ I don't know what the slash is, but just click on the merch. You got time for flick chart?
Sure.
What time did the Oscars start? Dog Day Afternoon, 1900. You ever seen 1900?
I don't recognize it.
I believe Gerard Depardieu and De Niro get the kind of, I don't know, they both show their dicks and they're getting jerked off.
Wow. How have I missed this movie? When did it come out?
1976. So he was relevant. We'll have to be a classic sometime.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and skip this one. Dog Day Afternoon, The Wrestler.
That's tough. I'll go The Wrestler.
I will too, but I think it's recency bias.
Yeah, I think so too.
Home Alone, My Best Friend's Wedding.
I guess I'll make the blasphemous choice because I actually really enjoy My Best Friend's Wedding.
Not enjoy it, but my kids like Home Alone. Flip it for me.
Heads.
Home Alone. Annie Hall, Battle Royale.
Annie Hall, a little bit. Just a little bit better. Just a little bit more.
I'll go with
different
you on that one. Ghost or Say Anything?
Say Anything.
I'm going to go with Ghost, only because of Uncle Jeff. I don't know if you've been paying attention to his poll or not.
Tails.
Say Anything wins. He was doing a romantic comedy poll, and Josh and his wife Beth have been active on there too, but like Silvery's Linings Playbook lost to like, I don't know what, it wasn't 16 Candles, it was one of the other ones. It was a John Hughes movie, and Josh is on there campaigning against Silver Linings Playbook, and then Serendipity gets his butt kicked by some shitty movie. And I think Say Anything did really well, then it ultimately lost to something else, and it was just, I don't know, the whole thing was pissing me off. Princess Bride beat out something, which is fine movie, which is, since Princess Bride was Talented Mr. Ripley, but in this particular poll, Princess Bride would have beat Talented Mr. Ripley. Clearly, we're going to pick the Talented Mr. Ripley, if I'm not mistaken.
Although I love Princess
nothing
Bride.
against the Princess Bride. I am not saying anything bad about it.
Talented Mr. Ripley kind of changed my life, so.
All right, City of God, Scream.
City of God.
I haven't seen it, so I'll just go with it with you. Probably a movie I need to see. Father of the Bride, Ninja Turtles, 1990.
Which Father of the Bride?
The Steve Martin one.
Oh God. Ninja Turtles. That Steve Martin movie is just really, it grates on my nerves.
Shoot 'em Up, the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman.
When was that one?
1974.
No, I don't think I've seen that one. I think it's an Oscar nominee, but it's one I haven't seen.
Top Gun or Shoot 'Em Up?
Man. Here's where I got to reveal that I have this shameful love for Clive Owen as Bugs Bunny, eating a carrot and getting into the most ridiculous gunfights in history. I kind of love Shoot 'Em Up.
I'm all for that. I mean, I've never been a big I
don't really care about Top Gun at all.
I didn't see it as a kid, similar to Star Wars. Saw it later on in life, and I was just like, I don't get it. But I suppose if I was a kid,
Shoot 'Em Up should be a classic sometime. Although it probably won't hold up. I just remember that theatrical experience being so much fun, though.
Yeah, we'll have to have like a month where it's like Lucky Number 11. Just those guys you don't see anymore. Who's the Lucky Number 11 guy?
Josh
Hartnett, yeah. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Once Upon a Time in the West.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
I love that movie. The Polar Express, Coneheads.
Coneheads. I love Coneheads. Another one I feel ashamed of, but
nothing wrong with that.
That is the guiltiest of guilty pleasures.
Men in Black 3, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Jesus Christ, they really want me to vote for Mad Max, don't they?
I am wondering if this little algorithm thing where they can hear you talk and stuff. I watched Mad Max Fury Road like a couple days ago, and all of a sudden Mad Max popped up on my computer all over the place. What the hell?
Flickchart's spying on you?
Maybe. I don't like either one of these movies, so that's the problem. Which one do you like better?
I picked Mad Max, I guess.
All right. I like the music video. Underworld, The Matrix.
The Matrix.
True Lies, Dragonheart.
True Lies.
I watched that a couple weeks ago when I first got my treadmill. I don't know why. It's on HBO. Devil in a Blue Dress, Shrek. Yeah, I like Shrek too much. Even if that is a good movie, I don't remember. American History X, The Other Guys.
The Other Guys, because I can't even watch American History X, honestly.
Well, we did it as a classic, and it fell short. You know, It didn't hold up like I wanted to, and plus, The Other Guys is fun.
It really is. The way that Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock die is just beautiful.
The only thing that could have made that movie better is if all the trailers were just Sam Jackson and The Rock. Then they die, and then it goes to Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
That would have been great.
But that's too risky.
Yeah.
Transformers, Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, God. What? No, I'm going to kill myself.